Today is Saturday, the 18th of June, 2022, and this is the 37th session on mindfulness for beginners in the English medium from Nissarana Vanaya Forest Monastery. And on behalf of all organizers and attendees, I would like to welcome with much respect Venerable Bhante Homagama Dhamma Kusala Thero, who is going to be directing us on the path to mindfulness in today's session. Also, I would like to welcome warmly all the organizers and attendees who are joining through Zoom today, and also to let you all know that this is being streamed live on Nissarana Facebook pages. So if anyone is listening, I would like to welcome all of them too. So for us to start off today's session, I would like to invite Venerable Bhante Homagama Dhamma Kusala Thero to commence the proceedings with in-session mindfulness practice, which is our tradition on this program. Bhante, over to Bhante. Much merits.
Thanks, Namanta. So hello, everybody. Again, we are meeting with the program. So as the initial part, we will do some practicing. So I thought today we can do a mindful walking session. So our plan is to spend about 10 to 15 minutes doing a mindful walking session. This is just to give you an idea about the training. So when you practice more and more on your own time, you can really understand what is happening. So initially, we will guide you through a few minutes of mindful walking. So for this, you have to make sure that you have some space, probably around 10 to 15 feet, where you can walk back and forth without disturbances. So when you have that space, you can start walking. You walk back and forth while paying attention. So we know how to walk, but the difference is that we are going to pay attention that we are walking. We are going to notice again and again that we are walking. So you will walk in a natural way, walk in a natural rhythm, and try to be aware what is happening. Try to notice that you are walking. So when you start for a while, then you may notice that there are sounds that you can hear from the surrounding. Time to time, sights grab your attention. But again and again, you try to walk with awareness, with mindfulness. And with time, you can notice your body as well. You can notice that your body is walking. Maybe you will feel the texture of the ground. Which parts of your feet is touching the ground, you may notice. Maybe it's the heel that is touching first. Maybe toes are touching. So you walk in a comfortable manner while paying attention and noticing what is happening. So again and again, we do this walking with attention. Time to time, sounds may appear. Time to time, thoughts may appear in your head. Time to time, various things, sights from the surrounding will grab your attention. That is okay. Allow them to come and go while you being aware. Let them come and go, and you just notice that there are thoughts in my head. There are sounds that I hear. So that very awareness is what we are practicing. We try to be aware that we are thinking thoughts. We try to be aware that we are hearing sounds. We try to be aware that surrounding grabs our attention. And more you do this, you start to notice more and more details in your bodily sensations as well. Maybe the surrounding is a little bit warmer. You can feel that warmth in your body. Maybe you feel how the texture of the ground. Maybe there's a temperature difference between ground and your feet. So you notice these things. And maybe you notice how the weight is shifting from one leg to the other, how your muscles and bones are taking this weight. So these things are good observations that we are trying to be mindful. So these observations tell us that we are mindful, we are aware. Again and again, we walk in a comfortable manner, trying to be aware, trying to notice what is happening. So I invite all of you to join for a walking session. Probably around 10 to 15 minutes, we will practice mindful walking as a group. Okay, now you can return back to your seats. So this is just to give you an idea about mindful walking. You have to practice this on your own time. Try to see how you can spend at least 20-30 minutes daily trying to practice mindful walking and 20-30 minutes doing mindful sitting. So with that experience, we can discuss further and try to see how you can make progress in your practice. So now, Manti, you can take over.
Thank you so much, Bante. It's always very energizing to engage in mindful walking during the session itself. Much merits to Bante for highlighting the initial advice and conducting the session. We all hope that you are able to use this as a pilot demonstration so that you can do it in your own schedules, in your own time when you are away from the program. Now, I would like to invite Sonali to conduct the Q&A session first by presenting the report for today. So we have only one report received for today. So if you have any verbally presentable questions or even statements, please be prepared to present them because we have some time today for sure. So over to you, Sonali. Much merits to you.
Thank you, Namanta. As Namanta said, we only have one report we've received today. I will read that out to you. Mindful walking, 45 minutes. Walked on wooden floor at a regular pace at the beginning. Noted the coolness of the floor at one end of the path and warmth at the opposite end, which is next to the glass door through which the sunshine was streaming in. Temperature change was prominently felt at the beginning, although with time it was noted less. Pace of walking had slowed down, but felt the alertness in the mind. Attention went to sounds and things around the room, and then returned to the movement of walking. Notice the air element during lifting and moving of the feet, and hardness of the floor when placing each foot. Felt sleepy after a while, and there was a slight conflict in the mind. One part wanted to stop walking, the other part wanted to continue despite the feeling sleepy. Sleepiness and walking both continued for a while. Attention had now moved to what's going on in the mind. Mindful sitting, 45 minutes. Sat on the cushion and did a quick body scan and adjusted the posture. Noted the breath after a while. Soon it became fairly subtle. Sometimes had passed noticing the breath. The various thoughts arose. Soon became aware of the different feelings related to these thoughts, such as irritation, annoyance, pride, friendliness, etc. Attention moved to pain arising in lower mid-back. Just watch the point of pain. Thoughts and feelings arose again, and just observe these. After some time, the mind scanned the original area of pain, but it had subsided. Maybe this is the magic of pain, I heard Bante mentioned last week, because after watching the pain for a while, it has changed in intensity and then disappeared. However, pain next arose around right shoulder, but now had some confidence to allow the pain to be, having experienced it falling away from lower mid-back earlier. Did the same with the numb feeling in the leg and allowed it to be. Mindfulness during the day. There were several times when the mind was restless and worried due to the various tasks that needed to be completed at work and at home. Mind was also agitated hearing my multiple negative news. Managed to bring the mindfulness to the body and both these situations at least for a while. This helped to note that the shoulder muscles and stomach muscles were tense, and on noticing this, the tenseness somewhat relaxed. Also noted that with each time the mind was able to scan the body, the agitation reduced to a manageable level. Restlessness and worry would arise again and manage to bring the mindfulness to the body several times. Venerable Bhante, I appreciate your feedback you have on this experience. End of report.
Okay, so this is what we call as practice. If there's a newcomer here, you start with even few minutes, like 5 minutes of walking, 5 minutes of sitting. So this practice is not that complicated. You just simply sit for a while and try to be aware. You walk in a comfortable manner and try to be aware. That very awareness is what we are practicing. So every day you try to understand this practice, you try to experience it more and more. So this way you grow little by little. It's not a matter of few days. You just have to continue, few weeks, few months, few years even. You just continue, make it a part of your life, and try to understand how this practice is helping you, how it is changing your mind, the state of your mind. It may change. Earlier, it is difficult to bear certain occasions, but now with this practice, you become stronger and stronger. So that's the power of mindfulness that we are talking about. When you practice only, you can really understand, really experience it. Now, this is a report from a practitioner who is well aware about mindful walking and sitting. And these details, although they appear to be menial details, they are not that much of value, you might say. But they are very much valuable because you are observing yourself. You try to understand yourself. And when you do that observation, you have a lot of details. You notice how the body is working, how the temperature differences are there. And sometimes when you sit, how this body is breathing. And you sometimes notice how the breath is varying, the differences between in-breath and out-breath. So there are details that you notice. That's the very starting point of this practice. And more you practice, more and more you spend time with mindful walking and sitting, you start to develop, you start to grow your mindfulness. So you are investing your time in this every day, probably like 1.5 hours, 2 hours, you are investing in this. So when you do it again and again, you can see the results of your investment. Without investment, you can't see. It is not happening by chance. You have to do certain effort. You have to put effort towards this. And when you do it, and you continue for some time, then only you will see the results. Then only you will see the development of your mindfulness. And when that grows, you can notice such details. Now you notice that one part of your mind wants to stop, then the other part wants to continue. So we don't have to come to any conclusion. Instead, these are valuable observations about yourself. Although we know about the world, although we study the surrounding world, we don't know this internal world. And when you observe, you can see certain part of your mind wants to stop, and the other part wants to continue. So which one is me? Which one is so-called I? You can't figure it out. So without trying to figure it out, we observe again and again. Then you start to see this struggle between senses. Whatever sensations coming from the I, they try to take control. Whatever sensations coming from the ears, they try to take control. Then bodily sensations are there, they try to take control. Then mind objects are there, they try to take control. So you can really see the struggle between these senses, these sense doors. Again and again they fight. Again and again they try to become the winner. They try to become the master. So this process, Mahavir or Nigantanadaputta, he was referring to this as polypsychic. He's saying that, we have multiple psyches inside us, and each one is trying to win. So in our practice also, we are not saying polypsychic, instead we say these are observations. This is the struggle between senses. Each and every sense trying to win this fight, win this struggle. And due to this struggle, you become a slave to these senses, these sense doors. Mind is the real master, but it is becoming a slave to these mind objects. So that is what we are observing. We are observing how this is happening. Certain occasions, pain may arise, and it is trying to claim the bigger part. It is saying that I am the important one. Give your attention to me. That's the message of the pain. Go away, change your posture, it will suggest. But if you observe for a while, then it disappears after a while. Then you develop your confidence. Although these opinions come, I don't have to act on them. Instead, I can just be the observer and try to see what is happening. So that is how you become the master. Earlier, you were the slave. Whatever pain was telling, you did. Now with practice, little by little, when you grow in confidence, you realize that I don't have to act. I don't have to become slave to these opinions. That very process is really becoming the master of your own mind. Mind is the real master, but it has become a slave to these sense doors, sense objects, mind objects. Now you are gaining control again and again. You see this struggle between these senses. You see how it is creating opinions. So one is suggesting stop the walking. Then the other one is suggesting continue. But I say, don't give vote to any of them. Not both. We think that stopping one is bad, continuing one is good. That's our opinion. But what I say is that don't give vote to any of them. Instead, see how this process is happening. And when you see, you can see after a while they vanish. Then some other opinion, some other sensation might appear. So just by observing, just by having confidence, developing confidence, you again become the master of your mind. You develop your authority over these sense doors. And when you develop that, then of course, at times you can say yes. At times you can say no. And at times you can stay neutral. That ability we are developing, that ability is growing. Otherwise, for the pleasant things, you say yes all the time. Unpleasant things, you say no all the time. And you don't have a saying on being neutral. But when you practice more and more, you realize you have a few options. If you want, you can say yes. If you want, you can say no. If you want, you can stay neutral. That very ability we are developing. So continue this way and continue to share your experience with the group. these things very much valuable. It's like, when we hear that report, it's like listening to one of the complex discourses in the Tripitaka. You don't see that value. You see simple words, somebody walking, noticing few things, but very much valuable information, deep, insightful meditation, details are there. So continue to report back to us.
Thank you, Bhante, for all that advice, and thank you for the person who wrote the report as well. Since we don't have any other reports, we can let you ask any questions from Bhante regarding your practice or anything else. Please raise your Zoom hand. Oh, Mihiri has raised your hand. Mihiri, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Avasarai Bhante, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I did send a report, but I think it may have not arrived. So can I read it? It's basically a sitting meditation with the primary object being body awareness. Sat on a cushion, noted areas of body touching the cushion, folded legs, foot, ankle, where it was touching, one hand on another, fingers bent in hand on top, the fingers extended in the other hand. Noted eyelids touching each other and the clothes covering parts of the body and exposed areas of the face, neck, arms, and hands. Cold sensation passing along the body. Mind going to breath on and off, and then to an itch in eyes. Noted watery eyes. Scratched eye at one point, was not aware till during the action. Noted the end of the action. Discomfort in eyes and sensation of dry eyes watched, and this too passed after a while. Thoughts came and went with short proliferations, but mind came back to body. Meditated for 45 minutes. In a different sitting session, contemplated how anger arose and acted on due to the sense of I, conceit, impatience, ignorance, and being unmindful. Sense of body facing a different direction to the one that meditation session started in. Noted the mind rationalizing that the body could not have turned. When the sitting session finished, the body was still in the direction in which it had started. Made another determination to be more aware in the future and catch the anger arising and not acting on it. And this has happened a few times since then. Much gratitude to Bhante for the guidance and to all the organizers.
Okay, so thank you for sharing that report. As you can see, now when you sit, you can feel various sensations in your body. And sometimes, certain things on your face or on your body, you can notice. Eyes tearing sometimes, eyes becoming dry at occasions. So these things, although they may appear as a discomfort, it is some valuable process that is happening in our body. When you sit with mindfulness, if your mind is in the present moment, there is always this healing process going on. So there is this detoxing process in your body. Sometimes you get even detoxing symptoms in your body. Time to time it becomes heated, time to time it cools down, then tearing. All those things are there. So you have to consider that there's this healing process going. So I am not interrupting that. Although it feels like discomfort when it is going on, it is healing. So you have to wait till the cycle ends. You can really see that it is developing, growing. And if you wait long enough, you can see that now my body is relaxed. Now that very cycle is over. If you get up in between, then there's a trouble. Most people, they get up in between. They don't wait till the cycle finish. Then it is difficult. Then it is difficult to bear. So when these things come, you have to stay. You have to continue. Even with difficulty, you have to continue till that cycle ends. When it ends, you feel fresh, you feel relaxed. So that's one of the points that I want to make. Then when you practice, you can really see the whole bunch, anger is there, greed is there, conceit is there, ego is there. This is the entire bunch that is there. All of us, we have these qualities. Time to time, we knew that they act in us, but we didn't observe them closely. We didn't have that awareness before. Now we are observing, now we know. That very knowing is the important one. If you don't know, then you are lost in these things. That's why in your report, even you are saying that next time I can become more aware. That's the idea of the practice. You don't have to get it right in the very first time. We get chances again and again. We get chances. That's the way of the practice. 1,000 times you can make mistakes, but you develop. You develop little by little. You try to catch it better. So that's the idea of the practice. That's why I say night doesn't end with a single dream. You get thousands of dreams within a single night. You may say that only one dream I had, although you can't remember. There are thousands of dreams you see in a single night. So that's the idea of the practice. You get chances. You correct yourself little by little. Today you make mistakes. Again, tomorrow you go and try. Again, you go and try. Like that, you continue. When you continue, you can see, as you mentioned, with time I improve. With time, I can catch them sooner. So that's the idea of the practice. Otherwise, we are just lost in these things. We become slave to them. That's another point that I want to make. Then when you sit, you can see your perception changes. You sit in this direction, and after a while, you feel that it is in some other direction. So these things are natural when you practice. And your mind will start, wandering, arguing about this, rationalizing about this. That's the process. Because if I sit in this direction, I can't change. That is not rational, we say. But let it happen. This is the idea of the changing perception. You have to observe it. Even it is happening with your breath. When you observe breath, sometimes you feel that your breath is far away. Then you are rationalizing, it can't be, because I am here, how can it be far away? So those things are natural in the practice. You have to see how this perception is changing and how it is creating chaos in your mind. When you experience more and more, you face it today, you face it tomorrow, again and again you do, then you understand, although the direction changes, I don't mind, I will continue my sitting. With practice, that confidence will grow. So this is okay, the way of practice. Continue this way, and you can share your experience again.
Thank you, Bhante. And thank you, Mihiri, for sharing that report. I'm sorry we haven't been able to read it. We didn't get it on time. I can also see Bandula's hand up. Bandula, please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Sonali. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay, thank you. Asrai Bante, I just wrote it last minute, so I'll read my report. Walking in the backyard on a sunny morning. Felt the coldness on the sole from left sole to the right. While walking, I observed the coldness on the sole varies from foot to foot. Simply walked up and down. When I come to the end, so I felt my body is turning 180 degrees. Just continued the walk. So time to time there were distractions due to thoughts and noise, but mindfulness remains the same, either foot or external object. Compared to other weeks, I noticed there was a less concentration during walking practice, but there was some balance or equilibrium in the mind. Sitting. Sat comfortably on the chair. I felt the sitting was little lethargic and there's not much to watch. So I persisted the sitting session. This week, the sitting practice was normal. So due to coughness, I had to limit the practice for 30 minutes. Day-to-day activities. I try to put awareness on activities such as brushing the teeth, casual walking, bathing, etc. And watch how quickly mind jump from one to another. So I maintain awareness on brushing teeth, then the mind jumped to thoughts. Then it came back to brushing and vice versa. So while brushing, I could see how the mind was drifting. Also, I could watch the mind movement while listening to the sound of brushing the teeth. So there's the ability to watch the mind movement while listening through the sound. I would feel the brushing sensation and listening to the sound of brushing the teeth at the same time. So after contemplation, I get a little understanding later that there was two processes involved. The brushing is one and the thinking in the background. So there's a thinking, there's a touching, there are many things happening at once. So that's the end of the report, Bhante. Thank you.
Okay, so in your report, probably near the beginning, you mentioned that although some distractions came, you could continue your mindfulness. So that was there, right? So if you could continue your mindfulness, you can't use the word distractions, right? So distractions come when you only try to observe your breath, but that is not possible in this world. Sounds are there, thoughts may appear time to time. So this is the world that we live in. And we try to accept. And when we accept, you can see that although the objects may change, you can continue your mindfulness. And that idea is there, but you are still using the word distractions. So that word should be corrected if you can continue your mindfulness. Of course, I agree, we start with the breath. That is how we develop. But after some time, you have to make sure that the mindfulness is what we are wanting, not the breath. We try to maintain our mindfulness. That's how you can practice even your day-to-day life. Otherwise, you can't do no. If you try to only observe the breath, you will have much trouble functioning because you are doing something while observing breath. That is not possible. When you brush, you have to stay with the brushing. It could be the sound of the brush. It could be the sensations, whatever. That process contains all these details. Sound it contains, then the feeling it contains. Then, sensations, the sight, everything is there. As long as we stay with that process, we are mindful. So that's how we develop our practice. We try to maintain mindfulness, although the objects change, right? Then you mentioned that you noticed two processes, but in your same writing, later on, you are saying that there are multiple processes. So if you come into a conclusion that there's two processes, then we make a mistake. Instead, you again and again observe, keep an open mind, see what is the truth. And when you do that again and again, you notice that this process is so complex. There are multiple processes going in. If you touch one, it will become real. If you vote for one, it will become real. The rest will vanish. That's because you are selecting one. When you select a woman, then the rest goes away. That's what happens, when you select somebody. If you are not selecting, then you have that potential. Although you may not be successful doing that, you have that potential because you haven't selected anybody. So that's the idea towards the practice. If you vote towards one, then that becomes real. The rest will go away. But if you don't vote, if you just keep an open mind without taking a side, you can see that multiple processes are there. That's why I earlier also said that polypsychic. Multiple psyches are there. If you touch one, if you grab one, if you vote for one, that will become real. The rest will vanish. Even there are stories in the Tripitaka where it is expressed in the outward. You go and you try to meet somebody, but same person, you can see thousands of them hanging around. And when you call the name, everybody is answering, okay, it's me. Now you're confused. You can't pick which one is the real one. So again comes back and asks for the help. I can't figure it out. There are thousands of people, same outside appearance, and all of them are answering to the same name. So how should I pick the proper one? Then the Buddha says, go and touch the very first one that you find, and the rest will vanish. So in this our mind, this is happening again and again. You vote for one, and the rest will disappear. But if you don't vote, if you keep it open, you can see there are thousands of them screaming that they are the one, asking for us to vote. So that openness is what we need. Don't try to come into a conclusion. Just see. Again and again, keep that open mind. And when you have that, little by little, what will arise is the dispassion. Because you see that this is a never-ending process. This process is so complex. And more you see that, your mind will turn away from that process. That dispassion will be represented as nothing to observe, so boring. Those are the words that we use. So that part was also there in your report. So when this happens, we have to learn to appreciate that. When my mind is separating from this process, it becomes, boring. It becomes colorless. It becomes not attractive. So that's a very good sign. But you don't appreciate that. We don't appreciate that. So again and again, we have to discuss these things. By discussing only, we start to appreciate, okay, this is a good thing. Although it appears as a boredom, it's a good one because my mind is distancing itself. That very distance is what we call the Nibbana, or the way towards Nibbana. So you have to learn to appreciate that quality. We only appreciate if the world is vivid and colorful, we appreciate. But if it is boring, we don't like. That's why we need change. You work during the week, plan in your weekend, plan in a change. And you go travel somewhere, you eat some new food. That's how we are chasing after the change. But when you stay in a single place, when you observe again and again, you can see that this becomes so boring. Boredom arises. And that very boredom is a good sign that our mind is distancing itself from this process. That very distance we call the Nibbana, or way towards Nibbana. That's how it happens. This passion will arise. And that this passion you have to appreciate. If you don't appreciate, then you will get up and go try to find something vivid and colorful. Again, you are lost in the same process. So we have to discuss these things, and by discussing, you get the correct approach towards the practice.
Sravante, there's one little question. Since brushing, there are so many activities. As brushing, you hear the sound, the surrounding, mind, object. So we can't say mindfulness is in a one thing, because I know we are brushing. It's like a automatic, like with a habitual thing. You just keep doing it. But at the same time, all the other things happening on the background. So we can't say actually it's mindfulness is on a particular process, but it varies one to another. So is it call it vipassana, or it is vipassana is something else? Thank you, Mante.
Okay, so try to call it mindfulness on the entire process. So if you only try to observe single object, then it becomes difficult. But if you are just attentive towards the process, then that's fine. That's fine. You brush, you hear the sounds, you hear the thoughts that are appearing, you feel the sensation, you see it, but your attention is here. What happens usually is that we take the brush. Brushing happens automatically, and our attention is totally somewhere else. So that's the wandering mind that we are talking. But if you are attentive on the process, although the objects may change, that's fine. That's fine, because you can't keep your attention with a single object. You can't do these tasks. They are complex tasks. When you eat something, you can't, have your attention on a single object. That's not possible. So have the attention on the process. That is enough. That very attention is what we recommend. So continue this way. Don't try to put any labels. Just try and see.
Thank you, Bante.
Thank you, Bante, and thank you, Bantala and Mihiri, for sharing your reports. If anyone else has a report you'd like to share, or as Namanta put on the chat, if you'd like us to share it for you, we're happy to do that. If not, any questions, please raise your hands. I don't actually see any hands raised. I'm assuming there are no more questions. Then thank you very much, Bante. I will hand you back to Namanta to take over.
Thank you so much, Sonali, and much merits to Bante. And also, I must mention thankfulness to all the persons who submitted those reports. You are helping the program for sure. Much merits to all of you. So as a next step, I would like to share the screen on beginner's guide as a traditional action on this program. So with that, I am highlighting the first few steps for a beginner to go through to get started on mindful practice. The very first step would be to go through the videos, one on mindful walking and mindful sitting. These links are already in the Zoom chat section. Then you can allocate time, small time daily. And I remember Bante mentioning 20 to 30 minutes at least as a start. So that's a very good start. So try to do that. It may need not be consecutive days. It could be today and day after tomorrow. It could be something like that too. But we prefer to have it every day, for you to have that practice every day. That's the training. Then you can observe how you are going through with it, how you are becoming more and more comfortable with it, how it becomes a part of your life, reducing your, let's say, stress levels, or improving your concentration, or improving your outlook or positivity towards life. Then the third one would be to write them into reports. So you can pick a session that you like best, and then put that into a written format. Present what you observe, hindrances, the object of focus, and also a brief summary of what actually happened. So you can take an example of the reports submitted today, which were very good ones. So go with that, and then that can be done on the mindful walk and also the mindful sitting practice. Then you can use this program to send the reports to us, and do not worry about sending us too many reports. No matter how many reports we get, we will try to accommodate all of them. So let us manage that. So please feel free to send reports. You can send through the Google form in the Zoom chat section or the email. The other one is the recordings manager, which is here. The file manager is there in the link, so you can go to that and refer the past programs. So this is the 37th session. So there are 36 programs that you can go through in leisure. And even if you had to go through repeatedly, listen several of the programs, it's fine. Or sessions, it's fine. You can do that. So with that, I'm ending the introduction to a beginner for this practice. I will stop sharing the screen. And since we have a time amount reserved in today's session for the talk on mindfulness, I would like to invite Bante, with much respect, to commence with the talk on mindfulness for today's session. Over to you, Bante. Much merits.
Hello, everybody. So we will spend some time talking a little bit more about the practice. Now, as Namanta showed, you can see that there are 2 videos which shows how to do mindful walking and sitting. So that is where you start. After seeing those 2 videos, you can start your practice. If anybody is new here, it's not a complicated thing. It's a simple practice that we are introducing. With time, you can grow. You can develop your mindfulness. So the very starting point would be to watch those 2 videos and start practicing on your own. Try to do mindful sitting, try to do mindful walking, 5 to 10 minutes every day. And little by little, you can increase your time and try to bring it up to a level where you can sit for 45 minutes, walk for 45 minutes. That type of a level is good enough. Then you continue that very practice for some time. Every day you reserve 45 minutes for your formal practice. And it's like going to a gym, developing your muscles little by little. That investment you have to do. And with that investment, we can discuss how to grow in your practice. When you practice, you can share your experience with us. And based on that experience, based on that report that you're submitting, we have to give you further advice. That's how we can invest in a valuable manner. Otherwise, you will be investing, but you don't know whether your investment is accurate, whether your investment is valuable. So we have to discuss that. That's why the presenting your experience is very much important. And when we discuss, you can see various reports, they have various experiences. Based on that experience, your problems differ. Your doubts, your questioning differs. So only after listening carefully, we can show you the correct direction. That way you have to get some advice. That is to make sure that you are investing accurately, that your investment is worthwhile. Otherwise, you will be sitting, you will be walking, but your practice won't grow. We walked for so long, but our mindfulness hasn't improved. Even the animals, they sit for a long time, but they haven't improved. So you have to make sure, although you are sitting and walking, you have to make sure that your practice, internal practice, is correct. So that only based on your report we can discuss. The questioning, the advice would change depending on the report. So when you report also, you have to make sure that you are reporting the correct way. If you just make up some stuff and tell, that's not worthwhile. You have to tell the correct details of your practice, correct problems of your practice, correct doubts of your practice. Based on that, we can show you the direction again and again. Even if you are familiar with this process, when you listen to somebody else's report, if you listen with mindfulness, if you are attentive, you can see what type of advice that this person should get. It is totally based on the comments that you are giving. It is totally based on the report that you are presenting. So even experienced listeners can decide what type of advice this person should get. And you can even compare your understanding with the answer. So that is how we grow as a group. So when we function as a group, there are so much advantages. You can learn even by listening to other people, even listening the advice given to them. But you should keep in mind that everything is not applicable for everybody. This practice evolves. So the initial advice that is given to somebody might not work for somebody else. So you have to keep in mind the practice is also evolving. Every day it is evolving. So today's advice is not valid for tomorrow. If you give the same advice, then the teacher is at fault. If it is a correct practice, it should evolve. That's a very sign, very idea of a correct practice. So we invite all of you to practice this. We invite all of you to share it. And when you share, when you get advice, and with that advice, when you practice again and again, you can really grow. So that's the idea of the discussion. I just wanted to explain it a little bit more so everybody has a good idea. And when you grow like this, you can really see the results of the mindfulness. We usually appreciate forgiveness in the world. We say, if you can forgive somebody, it's a good sign. If you think about the world, the worldly way is you won't easily forgive somebody. Instead, you will keep it in your mind and you will try to get revenge. You will try to get back to them. So that's the worldly way. But as a group, we appreciate forgiveness. But the problem is that our mind doesn't allow that. Although you want to forgive somebody, you can't do it. Again and again, our mind will try to get revenge. Our mind will create anger. And our actions or our words will always be harsh towards that person. So how to really forgive somebody? That's something that comes with the practice. If your mind is holding on to these objects so strongly, then it is not easy for you to forgive and, let go. That's the holding on to these mind objects. So even in the earlier discussion during the Q&A, I mentioned that your mind is distancing itself from this process. More you practice, that will happen. Dispassion will arise. And that dispassion or that very distance will allow you to have some better attitude towards the world as well. Because if you are able to let it go easily, then you have the ability to forgive somebody. And when I say if you are able to let it go, you might think that it is intentional. But actually this letting go is unintentional. You practice again and again, and letting go happens naturally. With practice, you can really experience this. Sometimes the problems come. Maybe with your family members, maybe with your workmates, problems come. And when they appear, you suffer maybe for weeks. But with practice, you can see, although these incidents happen, I am able to forgive and forget within a soon period. Maybe probably within few days, you are able to move on. That very ability is growing with the practice. That very ability is a result of the practice. That's why I say that this distance that is created between the mind objects and your mind, that distance will allow you to let it go naturally. Letting go becomes more and more natural to you with this practice. Incidents happen. You can't avoid that. You can't get rid of the world. But your mind will be at peace because you are letting it go. Letting go is natural to your mind. So this process is a natural process. We support it, we energize it by repetitive practice. Again and again we practice, and as a result, letting go happens naturally. And when you let go, you can easily move on, and your mind will be at relaxed. When you hold on to things, your mind becomes heavy. You are keeping accounts, and this person this did, that person did that. You are thinking, you are holding on to those things. And more you do that, your baggage will be heavier and heavier. And with time, due to this baggage, you become so stressful. It becomes so difficult. It's like pumping air into a balloon. More it grows, bigger it gets, more strain it will have on the surface. And with a small touch, it will explode because of that strain. But if you let go, if you release that pressure, then your mind is naturally relaxed. So it's like releasing that pressure in a balloon. You try to let go of these things. That letting go is not naturally happening. You have to support it. You have to support with your practice. And when you support it, you can see the letting go becomes more and more natural to me. And you can, forgive that person. You can move on. But in a way, I am not recommending forgive, of course, do that. But I am not recommending to forget. Maybe you can, have some idea towards these people that surrounds you. You can make mistakes, but you can learn. Each and every person, they have something called like hard-earned reputation. This person is this type of a person. That very knowing allow you to, have some kind of a protection. Otherwise, you are blindly doing the same mistake again and again. That's not the correct way. We are allowed to do mistakes, but we learn from them. We change our behavior in the future accordingly. That is the way of self-care. Otherwise, you are doing the same mistake. You are going after the same person and doing the same mistake again and again. The only result would be worrying, difficulty in your mind. But if you learn something, then in the future, you grow. You change your behavior. You do your work according to the person that you are dealing with. So maybe you don't have to, forget everything. You can forgive and move on. But, you have some idea about the person that you are dealing with. You are not going to make the same mistake again and again. So that type of attitude towards the world, it is very healthy. Because this world, it's a complex world. Various people are there. Various psyches are there. So you have to make sure that you create certain boundaries. And you have a certain type of a protection. If you have no boundaries, then you will be always at mess, having difficulties, having troubles with these people. So maintaining boundaries is an important thing. And the boundary might change according to the person. It's not a fixed boundary for everybody. Certain people you can deal closer. Certain people you have to, keep them at a distance. And have that type of a protection. around you. That is the way of self-care. Otherwise, you are doing the same mistake again and again. You are going after the same people and getting hurt again and again. So of course, forgive, but when you forgive, you have to make sure that you are doing it in the correct way. You are doing it in a healthy way. That's how we are changing our life. It's a life-changing practice, but you have to make sure that you are doing it correctly. Letting go will help you to do that. But I am not recommending to do the same mistake again and again. Some people, they come and tell, I'm at rock bottom. I'm in a huge mess. Where should I start this practice? So the recommendation is that start where you are. You can't go to a magical world and start. You have to start where you are. And you have to move little by little. Start moving. They say the ground is burning hot. What should I do? So we recommend start moving. That new place might be out of your comfort zone, might be uncomfortable, but the ground is burning hot. What else you can do? You have to move towards a better place. You have to move out of your comfort zone. You have to accept that change. Otherwise, you are jumping due to the burning hot ground and asking solutions. No, you have to start moving. You have to make sure that you are moving towards the light, towards the correct direction. So the practice will definitely help you. Practice will allow you to have a much wider view towards these things. But you have to take actions. You have to move little by little towards a better place. You have to make changes in your life. Probably there'll be some changes that you have to make in your diet. Probably there'll be some changes that you have to make in your workplace, working hours maybe. Probably there might be some changes that you have to make in your home. You may have to reserve some time for you. That self-care time you have to reserve for yourself. Maybe 1 hour you reserve for yourself. This is my relaxing time. I'm working this many hours. I'm doing these things for my home, my family, but I need some space. I need to have this space because you matter. Your mental health matters. So think about these things, continue your practice. This practice will help you to have a better understanding towards these things, better view towards things, a wider view towards these things. So with practice, you can make changes, make improvements in your life. And that is how we are going to grow. That is how we are going to become healthy in our body and mind. So I invite all of you to continue, and thank you for listening.
Much merits to Bante, and indeed a very nice articulation on how you can reap benefits from mindfulness, and also on how to keep on going, developing your own mindful strength. So as part of the program, we allow questions on the talk itself, or if you have any immediate question you would like to raise. So I would like to invite Dhananjay to speak up his question. I will unmute. Yes, you can speak now.
Yes, thank you, Namanta. Sorry, Sonali, I could not ask this question during the question time. My question for Bante with respect is that I have been practicing this mindfulness from 2020, but still I consider myself as a beginner. I had to go for a master training session during the session. That's why I could not ask the question.
My question is, Bhante, how do I know whether I have come to a state of dhyana while doing the meditation? They say first, second, third jhana can be achieved during this meditation or the mindfulness practice. But as Bhante correctly said, this has been a life changer for me. Now I don't get angry the way that I get angry those days, and I finish all my work in office at a very short time, and end of the day I'm happy. So I think I have brief benefits out of this. My question is, Bhante, how do I know whether I have achieved dhyana? Theruvan Sarnai.
Okay, thank you for asking that. Even in our discussion, the talk we mentioned, now we have to make sure that we are practicing properly. We are spending time, we are investing, but we have to make sure that we invest correctly, accurately. Otherwise, it will go into a waste. So that's something important. So the idea is to write your meditation experience. I hope you are doing both walking and sitting practices. So you can, write your experience and you can send it to us. And we'll have a discussion next week. And by sharing your experience, you can get proper advice. By doing that only you can do. Otherwise, if you listen only to other people, they might be getting some other advice that is not suited for you. So we have to make sure that the proper advice is given for you. That is the way of the growth. Otherwise, you will get tired after a few years and you will give up. That happens to a lot of people. They just give up because they got tired of the practice. They didn't see any progress in that practice. But if you do present those experiences, maybe once a month or every other week, if you present it, if you get some proper advice, then you can make sure that you are growing in your practice. That's why I said, now you can invest time, but you have to make sure that the investment is accurate. Otherwise, we are just sitting. We don't know what we are doing. We are just walking. We don't know what we are doing. So we invite you to practice during the coming week and share your experience, write a report, write about the walking practice, write about the sitting practice. And based on that, we can guide you further. So that's the idea I want to give.
Thank you so much, Bhante, for taking that question. And yes, I would also like to stress on the reporting and factor involved in this process. So Dhananjay, feel free to send us reports. The details are in the Zoom chat section. And then you can, by precisely telling Bhante what you experienced during your sessions, you can get specific advice tailored to your requirement. So with that, if there is anyone else to ask a question, I can give a little bit more time. Okay. Yes, and I believe that's the end of the talk and related questions. So I would also like to stress upon Bhante's closing comment on this talk, saying that this leads to better mental and physical health. So I believe while we practice for us to gain some form of higher wisdom, we get an additional benefit of better mental health and better physical health. And with the years progressing on, things like depression or dementia, the risks of those get reduced when you practice this way. So another plus point for continuing your practice. Now, I would like to thank Venerable Bhante Humagama Dhamma Kusala Thero for very kindly taking Bhante's time out of Bhante's schedule and putting in a lot of effort, taking part in our sessions in this program today as well. It is not easy to convey the same message which is in Pali and in Sinhala into a different language, English language, and Bhante is doing fantastic effort and work on this aspect. So much merits to Bhante. We can see that Bante's replies and talks are improving vastly, and this is one of the rare programs in the world that address this section of the topic on mindfulness and the pathway to achieve that. So much means to Bante. And we wish all the merits and the good deeds pave way for Bante to develop and progress in Bante's own practice. So much thanks to you, Bante. Then also we would like to mention the name and thank the Chief Abbot, uh, Venerable, Most Venerable Bante Udayiregama Dhammajiva Mahathero, for insightfully requesting this program to be implemented and supporting us through this manner. Then I would also like to thank all the organizers who have worked hard to initiate this program, and those who are still uh, working hard to sustain this program. Uh, it was a great benefit to the mindfulness practice of all of us. So thank you to them. And then I would also like to thank all of you who are participating in this program with a keen intention and enthusiasm on mindfulness, which is a core reason for us to sustain a program of this manner. So thank you. And we hope to see you developing and improving your practice through this program. Please send us more reports and raise verbal statements or questions. So it all adds to the program. Then I would like to say this is the end of the session for today on mindfulness. So if you have any uh, questions overall on the program, you can raise the hand and let us know. So any feedback or comment is accommodated in this point in time for the session. I have posted 3 short messages on the Zoom chat section. These are on the monastery website and the Satipasala Foundation. And also the third request is to invite like-minded individuals to the program so they can benefit. I'm also inviting others, but they are not turning up that much yet. But we just keep on trying. And you can discuss this program or benefits with your friends and colleagues. Even if they can't attend, they can gain some benefit through you. So you can become what you would call like ambassadors of mindfulness in your own daily lives. Yes. So with that, I think we are running out of time. I would like to thank all of you again, and I would also like to thank Bante for today's contribution. We wish Bante good health, and will be able to uh, participate in future sessions too, and same for all of us, all of you. I will end the Zoom session now. I hope you all will have a very mindful week ahead, and until we see you on next Saturday. Thank you.